Good evening, folks. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Hi. Good evening, Burnett and Zenny and Doreen and Yanu. Good evening, good evening. Welcome. Hello, Neo. Madala. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. For those of you that are new, this is TikTok Q&A evening. So any financial questions that you have, I'm a financial advisor. I give answers as far as possible. Today was a long day. My throat is dry. I need something to drink. Welcome to everybody. I always forget to grab one. Grab. Just one sec. One sec. There we go. Sorry about that. Just needed to grab something quickly. Got it. Now I'm ready to go. Okay, back with you. Amelia and Bali and Timby and Mo and Jacob and Jay. Good evening. Good evening, Jay. How's it, mate? It is Thursday evening, and at least it's not as cold as it was a couple of days ago. So that's lekker. But I must say, I am pretty dog tired today. I did not have the best sleep night last night, so I need to get into bed. So this hour, I need to answer you guys as quick as possible so I can have an early evening. Good evening, Ntswakana. And Romeo Uback, have seen you here from before. Good evening. Remnisha. As per usual, a couple of very interesting names that comes up. Jazzman, why do I think I've seen you from before? I can't remember, but I do think so. In any case, welcome to everybody. Any questions you have in terms of financial advice, let me have it. Let's see if I can help you. Last week Thursday was a very good evening. There were some very, very interesting questions last week Thursday. And I hope that tonight we're going to have the same. Good evening, Judith Alberts, Gospel Outreach, Leslie, how's it, folks? Otto, good evening, Otto and Sonia and Carl. Welcome, everybody. I'm just saying how's it to everybody until the first person puts in the first question, which I know will happen soon. So we will jump into it just now. I'm thinking of what can I tell you that's interesting about our industry at the moment, and there's just nothing that I can think of right now. So thank you very much, Jay, for popping in the first question. You've taken me out of wondering what I should tell you people. Jay says, I would like to retire December next year at 57. Should I do anything in preparation? I owe 300,000 bond. So Jay, yes, I would advise you very strongly that you now already go and have a sit down with a financial advisor so that you just look at what your pension fund values is, your investment values, your income need, what the situation is in if you pass away in terms of financial dependence, what needs to be looked after for them, over and above your 300k bond, if there's any other debts, what will be best. Actually start doing the planning now. What will be best? Will it be best to pay off the bond? Will it be best to take full 1/3? Will it not be best to do that? So I would do a planning session now already. And the reason why I say that is that when individuals walk into my office and we have to discuss their pension, they normally have an idea of what they want to do. And then when we start playing around with the figures and we start doing the planning, then very often what they wanted to do and what I recommend are two different things. There's overlapping in terms of what they want to do and what I recommend. There is overlapping, but it's not 100%. So whether it's just half the plan or 3/4 of the plan or a quarter of the plan is different between what the client wants to do and what I recommend. And it's normally because you look at the situation or your situation out of your perspective, your view. You can't really see wider than that what other options and possibilities are. So if you go and see somebody now already, and let's say you most probably have sat down and you've done some calculations and you've done some projections for yourself. So you most probably already have an idea that yes, I can retire because I'm going to get X amount, I only have this bond, etc. But if you go and sit with a financial advisor and the financial advisor does the planning based on a number of these factors that I've just called out now, life expectancy, etc., they might come up with a different answer. Or they might come up with an answer that is close to yours but not 100%. Then I would even go as far as saying get a second and a third opinion. Because that will help to ensure that even though you are only retiring in about 18 months from now or want to retire in about 18 months from now already you get a pretty clear picture of whether you can or cannot. And if you need to adjust your expectations, so to speak, with saying, okay, I have to work longer or I have to be able to get along with less or I can actually go earlier, then now already you can start mentally preparing yourself for that. Which is one of the important things at retirement, is people being mentally prepared for retirement. It's not always just about the rand and the cents. So yes, I would say go and get a calculation done so long, Jay, and then you will already start having more peace of mind of whether you're doing the right thing, whether you're making the right decisions. Okay, Zeni, do you think it's a good idea to invest in Petcore Holdings before the bank is established? I honestly don't know, Zenzi, and it's purely because I don't deal in shares. I don't buy and sell shares for people. I don't actually follow any shares, to be very honest with you. I know from discussions with portfolio managers and stockbrokers I deal with and stuff like that, I know about some shares that's doing well, other shares that's not doing well. Here and there shares that people say you should go into, but I don't concentrate on shares. That's just not my game. I've never liked it. To me, it's too stressful. I must be honest with you. For me, it's too stressful to buy and sell shares, and therefore I don't even look at it. I've had so many people contacting me in the past and said, listen, do you think this is a good share or that's a good share? And I don't know. I literally have to go and research that share in order to tell the people whether I think it's good or bad. And it's purely because as a financial advisor and because I do not deal in individual shares, I as a financial advisor deals with unit trust and portfolios where portfolio managers actually manage those funds, and I choose funds which is in line with a client's risk category and a client's strategy, and therefore I don't have to know what all the underlying shares is that's in that fund. Because I deal with portfolios from that point of view, I don't concentrate on individual shares. So Zeni, I'm sorry, I cannot give you a straightforward answer. I think you must find somebody that deals with that plays that game and speak to them. Or you must do your own research. These days you can do so much research on the internet, it's not even true. Heidi and Ryan, and hi Charlene, good evening, nice to see you again. Sunshine, kopseer. Hoekom het jy 'n kopseer? Moenie kopseer hê nie. We joined Jazz Band. Hey Jazz Band, nice to see you back again. Question is it possible to pay a lump sum of a tax-free to maximize the limit if you already have contributed? Yes, indeed. So, lots of people do this. Lots of people have tax-free investments or tax-free savings accounts, and they can only contribute 500 Rand or 1,000 Rand a month, but they have that investment because they know it's a good investment. So they contribute, let's call it 1,000 Rand per month, so they know they're only going to contribute for the year 12,000 Rand, and then suddenly they run into a bit of money, And they can actually put a lump sum in, whether it's to fill up the full 46,000 or whether it's just the extra 20,000, which will give them that extra contribution. Then you can indeed put that extra money in. And at the end of the day, like always, just be careful and make sure that irrespective of how you're contributing, be that on the monthly basis, quarterly basis, lump sum basis, ad hoc basis, just make sure that you do not invest more than the 46,000 Rand per financial year, which is allowed by SARS. That's the only thing you don't want to do, because you don't want to get taxed on the extra money. But yes, you can indeed put in lump sums as and when you get funds to invest there. So there we go, Jasmine. Thank you for the question, sir. Noel B says, hello Noel B, how are you doing? Nice seeing you back here. Charlene, are you a fan of balanced funds? Charlene, yes, as a matter of fact, I am. I am a fan of balanced funds, although I know that people would not think so, because I always talk about aggressive funds, I always talk about global equity funds, I always talk about equity funds. So I can understand if people think that I'm not a fan of balanced funds, but I am actually a very big fan of balanced funds for two reasons. First of all, balanced funds does well. I mean, balanced funds has over the last 3 years done exceptional. Not only well, they've done exceptional, but they do well overall. And when I say they do well overall, balanced funds has, over the history of balanced funds, outperformed inflation by anything between 3 to 5%. So 3 to 5% is not bad if you want to be invested in a fund where there's not too much risk, but you want to see some decent growth. So in terms of that, I'm a big fan of it. And I'm also a big fan of balanced fund, especially when it comes to people that either fall into a risk category where we know, listen here, based on how this client's risk is made up, he or she will not be suitable for conservative funds or aggressive funds. Then the balanced funds is ideal. It's normally the absolute go-to for people that have substantial amounts of capital, that does not need to pursue growth because they've got too little, but at the same time want to ensure that their capital is still outperforming inflation a little bit. So yes, absolutely. Fan of balanced funds, definitely. Ryan says, hi Cornel, how long should you give yourself to pay back 180k on a startup business? Ryan, I cannot really tell you. I think that capital that you pay back, it's going to depend on the type of startup business you have, how you run that business, etc. So I'm not a business analyst, okay? So I cannot try and give you a straightforward answer. I think it really depends on person to person, how and what the business is, how the business is performing. I reckon there are businesses that never, or business owners that never repay the startup capital that they've loaned to the business, because it benefits them to not pay it back and to have a loan account of 180,000 Rand or more. And then from there, it's a question of how well is your business doing. Is it doing well enough that you can pay it back over 1 month? Is it doing okay enough so that you can pay it back over a 5-year term? I don't think there is, when it comes to business specifically, I don't think there is a hard and fast rule in terms of startup capital and how long you should give yourself. I think it is more important on whether your business is profitable. That's number one. Is your business profitable? Is it a business that's growing? And then based on the accounting, and this is where your accountants or auditors will come in, based on the accounting, would it be beneficial to you to repay or won't it be? So it's more a business decision than what it is about a payback decision. Sorry, I can't give you a better answer than that, but once again, not a business analysis, mate. Noel B says, I have a policy paying out about 500k. Where would you invest it? I'm 57 years old and still working. So, Noel, here's the first thing. You don't have to let the policy pay out, okay? It doesn't matter if it's a retirement annuity, endowment, tax-free, or unit trust. You don't have to have it pay out. Once a policy gets to maturity date, what it basically means is that from this point forwards, oh, okay. What the heck? Sorry, folks. I'm gonna have to scroll back here because I've lost that question now. It's the first time that I got that funny thing. Okay. So now just back to that. When a policy comes to maturity, okay, specifically if it is an endowment, for example, coming to, oh, yes, oh, now I see. Sorry, folks. I'm having a cool drink here, and TikTok Live thinks I'm sitting here drinking alcohol. Don't know how the system picks that up, but in any case, I really don't know. Any case, let me try and get back to this question. So that 500,000, if it is in the form of an endowment, okay, all it means is that once it gets to maturity date, it means that now the money, if you withdraw it, is after tax money. And it is completely liquid now, meaning that you can withdraw money whenever you want from that investment. Now, because it is, if it is an endowment, you don't have to make it pay out. You can just leave it in the investment. Sometimes the insurer or the investment house where the money is maturing, they will automatically leave it in investment. What they would or could potentially do is they could let you know, listen here, this thing has come to maturity, you can extend it, but strictly speaking, you don't have to because we call it open-ended. It goes open-ended, so you can just leave it there for as long as you want. Sometimes they would move the funds into a very conservative fund like a money market account, because if they don't hear from you, they don't want to suddenly see that we go through a market dip and there's a bit of loss in income or loss in capital. So they will do that. So all you need to do really is when that endowment comes to maturity is to go and ensure that the funds is still in a portfolio of your choice. And sometimes, if it's an old product, you could actually ask for them to convert it into a new product range with better benefits, lower cost, etc. So you don't have to do anything with it. With a unit trust, on a unit trust, there is no maturity value. On a retirement annuity, even though it comes to maturity value at the age of 57, you can once again extend it on literally on a month-to-month basis. Whether you want to carry on paying in premiums or not, you can carry on with that. And tax-free plans obviously are liquid at any time, so it doesn't matter. So, no, I will not, if I were you, I would not really make any changes to that policy or to that investment. I would just, at worst, move it into a fund of my choice and to a new product range if necessary. But I won't physically take the money out of the investment and then reinvest it again, because if you do that, you create new cost for yourself and you create new 5-year restriction periods, and that you don't want to do. Okay, now I hope I've answered your question. So basically just don't do anything except for change the portfolio if necessary. Starrook says 27.5% annual taxable income limit. Does it apply on combination of all or only the voluntary contribution? So Starlook, I'm not sure what you're referring to. So remember the 27.5% annual taxable income limit, that is dependent on, that is for retirement annuities, pension funds and provident funds. Which means that in order to get the maximum tax rebate on the contributions that you put into a retirement annuity, you can contribute a maximum of 27.5% of your gross income to these different investments, retirement annuities, pension and provident funds, and that you can then deduct for tax purposes. So let's put it this way. Let's say you earn 100,000 Rand per year. That's your total earnings. 27.5% of that is 27,500. You can contribute 27,500 to these retirement benefits and then get the full rebate on 27,500. You can contribute more. You're earning 100,000, you can contribute 50%. So you can contribute 50,000 Rand of your gross income to your retirement annuity. But only 27,500 will be seen by SARS as a rebate from a tax point of view. The additional 22,500 that you've put in will roll over to the next year and you will get the rebate in the next year. If you fill up the rebate to 27.5% again next year, it will keep on rolling up until the actual retirement date, or when you go on retirement. When you then retire out of the fund, because you've had this 22,500 roll over and over and over, now when you have the option of saying I can draw 1/3 in cash, of which 550,000 is tax free, because you've had that 22,500 on which you've never had the tax benefit, you can actually draw not 550,000 tax free, but 550,000 plus that 22,500. So you can actually draw 572,500 tax free at retirement. So that's where the 27.5% comes in. That's the limit, maximum rebate I can get for my taxes on my gross income. Maximum contribution in order to get the rebate. But that 27.5% is also once again limited to a maximum of 350,000 Rand per year. So if you earn an income of 2 million Rand per year, 27.5% on that is 540,000 Rand. If you contribute 540,000, you will only get tax rebate on 360,000 and the difference rolls over to retirement. So that is the taxable rebate limit, okay? Just so we get that there, right? And you say, does it apply to a combination of all, only on voluntary contributions? That's on all contributions. So that means if you and your company is contributing towards your pension fund, they look at the total contribution, and that total contribution gets added towards your 27.5%. If you have a pension fund, you and your company is contributing, you've got 3 RAs with different companies where only you are contributing, all of that, all those premiums from all of those funds are added together up to that maximum of 27.5% for you to get that rebate. I think I've answered you right. I hope I understood the question. So there we go, good sir. Yeah, there we go. RA Provident Fund. Thank you, Starlook. Seems like I got it right. T-Man, speaking of balance funds, I have both Coronation and Allan Gray. Is that wiser? Yes, absolutely. I cannot see a problem with that. So if we choose balance funds, okay, so the first thing that we have to understand, irrespective of the type of fund you choose, whether it's an equity fund or a balance fund, whatever, inside of that fund, you've got a selection of shares, cash, property, and bonds. And the portfolio manager manages everything like that. So let's say you've got Allan Gray Balance Fund, and let's say Allan Gray Balance Fund is within that fund 50 different shares. If you have Coronation Balance Fund, you will most probably find that Coronation may not have 50 shares, but say 60 different shares, and 30 of the shares overlaps with the Allan Gray. The other 30 shares that does not overlap gives you a bit more diversification. That's all. It gives you more diversification in terms of your balance fund. And because you've got the two companies, the one portfolio manager will hold 10% in cash and the other one 12% in cash. The one will hold 5% of bonds and the other one 15% of bonds. So they will be managing these two balance funds differently. The result in terms of returns should be pretty close to each other, but the fact that you've got two funds, you've got just a broader diversification. What I won't do is I won't have 10 different balance funds, because then you are over diversifying. You're diluting your investment so much with the amount of shares that you're diversifying yourself out of growth. And then the other thing I won't do is I won't well, I try and advise people not to do it, is not to have a very conservative fund like a money market fund, a balanced fund, and then an equity fund, because now I've got a low risk, medium risk, and high risk fund. And especially if you have those three types of portfolios and you've got 33% in each of them, all it effectively means is you've actually just got a balanced fund, because the high risk fund and the low risk fund cancel each other out. You end up with a balanced portfolio. So no problem with having the two. Like I say, I won't have like 10 or 15 different balanced funds. And that's, funny enough, something that I often see when I look at clients' portfolios, is that they've got such a big selection of portfolios they invested in. It takes ages to figure out what their actual risk profile is. And it's just so over diversified. I don't see the need, and I don't actually see the results that they are trying to get by doing that. Diversification is good. 2 or 3 different funds, maybe 4 different funds, great. Over diversification is just as bad as being invested in only one share. The one is way too little, way too risky. The other one is way too much diversification. It's like drinking Oros, okay? If you pour yourself an Oros with water, it's lekker. But if you pour yourself an Oros in a can this big and you add water, it's not lekker. If I hope that very feeble attempt at explaining how you dilute the growth makes sense. If I have 62,400, 1/3, how much am I going to get after tax? Oh, PG. I did not bring my little booklet, man. But let's see quickly. So 624,123 minus 550,123 equals times 18% equals 13,320 minus 624,123. You're going to get 610,680 Rand. 610,680. That's what you will get. And remember, that is only if this is the first time that you're taking money from a pension fund, provident fund, or RA. If you've taken previously, then it means that you have already used up a portion or all of your tax-free portions, and then you move in terms of the tax brackets, the sliding scale of tax. So then there could be much more. But if this is the first time, then that amount is what you should get out after tax. Let's see who's next. I'm semi-impressed with the amount of people that's joining again tonight. Welcome everybody. Flygirl, I haven't seen you in a while. Hi Kunai, where would you recommend doing a will and why? So Flygirl, I prefer doing wills for my clients in-house. Meaning, I do the will, I nominate myself as the executor, or I nominate one of the lawyers that we do use as the executors. And the reason why I do that is because when it comes to the actual death of a client and we have to do the estate, I can go with the family, with the beneficiaries, to the lawyers. I know the lawyers, I can sit with them, I can help my clients through the whole process of the estate. And I know that my lawyers, I know how they do the valuations of estate. They do it in such a manner that we try and reduce the estate value, or not reduce it, but get the estate value as low as possible, which in turn means that the executor's fees is as low as possible. So I like to do that. There's many banks and many insurance companies that also does wills. I have dealt with them from before, and I just don't like it because it's impersonal. The bank agent that deals with the person's estate, the executor, has never met this person. They're basically a number. And I've just found that when it happens like this, whether it's through a trust company, an insurance company, a bank, there is just no, what can I call it? Humanity, commitment. yeah, I have also seen, and I won't mention the bank's name, but I've also seen a bank that has taken not only the full executive fee, but then has given the beneficiaries an additional invoice for the legal services, so that estate ended up paying not 3.5%, but substantially more. And they said, well, we charge for our services over and above. So I prefer to do it in-house. If you've got a financial advisor that you trust and they do it in-house, I'd suggest you go there. But if you don't have that, well, then make use of a recognized trust company or a lawyer that you trust. Charlene says, is a life annuity for the rest of your life or a fixed period? So Charlene, it depends. If you do a life annuity for a pension fund, it's for the rest of your life. So if you take the 2/3 and you invest that into a life annuity, you choose a bunch of different guarantees that's associated with the guaranteed term for the person that's taking it out, the guaranteed income, the guaranteed increases in income, etc., etc. But it pays for as long as you live, the rest of your life. If you do a voluntary life annuity where you're not taking the 2/3, but you're taking either money from the 1/3, or you're taking money that you invested in the bank, or you're taking money from a discretionary investment like an endowment that's matured. If you take money from there and you do a life annuity, then you normally choose a fixed period of 5 years or 10 years or 15 years up to 25 years. When you use this discretionary funds, you can once again choose a guaranteed term and lifelong thereafter, but that is normally the distinguishing thing between discretionary money or voluntary money, your own money, and pension money, is that the voluntary money, people normally take a life annuity with a guaranteed fixed term and it pays just for that term and it's finished. On the pension fund, it pays for the rest of your life as long as you are alive. Let's see. Pleasure, Noel. I just got to your thank you now. It's a pleasure. I'm glad that it helped you. What? Seductive Chinese man. I wish I could understand why people get these names. Okay. If I donate all of my LLC's taxable income bill to my non-profit, can it all be written off? LLC's taxable income bill to my non-profit. I think the question that you have here is more for an accountant. To be honest with you, I don't know what the LLC, what the LLC abbreviation stands for. When you talk about taxable income bill, I don't know if you're talking about your own gross income or if you're saying taxable income bill over there has something to do with your company. So no, I can't really tell you. All I can tell you when it comes to donations is that the donations is up to 150,000 Rand per annum, which means that if you make donations, whether it is to charitable not charitable organizations, when it's a gift, when you do a gift to somebody, okay? When you do a gift to somebody, whether it's one person or more than one person, you can donate or give gifts to people up to the amount of 150,000 without any donations tax. So once it comes to non-profit organizations, can't tell you how it changes. There I have to contact my accountant. Going to be very honest with you because I am not a tax specialist. I hope that answered it for you. Charlene says, does the tax rebate on your RA happen automatically when you file your return? Well, if you do, online? It is online filing, eh? I can't remember what the name is, but in any case, yes, I take it it's when you do. What you must just make sure of when you do that tax return is that the tax certificate that's been provided to you by the insurer or the investment house is uploaded. If that's uploaded, then yes, SARS will automatically bring it into the equation and work out the rebate for you. So yes, once again, I'm not 100% sure how that process works because my accountant does my taxes, but it will then it does get automatically calculated into your return if the evidence, which is that certificate, is uploaded. Flygirl, star look, I believe the max has gone up to 3. You're right. Yes, you are right. Sorry, you are right. You are right. You're right. When you're right, you're right. I actually forgot about that. The retirement contributions has gone up from 360,000. No. You've got me confused here at the moment. Okay. 360,000 to 400,000, 430,000. So that figure that's gone up. Okay. In the past, you got to retirement and you had a retirement annuity that was worth less than or up to 360,000 Rand at retirement. Then you could choose to withdraw the full 360,000 and not withdraw it as a 1/3, 2/3 option. So the 360,000 specifically, the full value of the RA, if it's up to 360,000 at retirement or after retirement age and you want to withdraw it, you can draw everything. That has gone up to 430,000. So these days, if you have a bit of a bigger RA, you can withdraw the full amount and you don't have to go through the exercise of choosing whether you're going to take 1/3 in cash and 2/3 into an annuity. You can withdraw the full 430,000. So that is where that comes in. You almost had me going now for a second. I was so... I still have in the back of my mind the 27.5% that I got completely confused by myself. Because that 27.5%, it's maximum of 27.5% or 350,000. So let's see. Vlak Vark, goeienaand. Richmond Gold, okay. There we go. Charlene is back. Is it better to have your tax-free savings in the JSE Top 40 or between MSCI World and SA Equities? Charlene, you know that old saying of how long is a piece of string? This is exactly the same thing. So if you talk about the JSE Top 40 and the World MSCI funds and equity funds, all three of these funds are seen as aggressive equity funds, okay? Which one is going to perform better? I can't tell you because I cannot see what the future is going to give us. So I don't know in terms of the future whether South Africa's top 40 is suddenly going to shoot the lights out or whether the SA equities is as a general equity fund is going to do better or whether the world equity funds is going to do better. And I know people will say, no, MSCI World Fund is definitely going to outperform everything. Global equities have been outperforming South African equities over the years. But there is certain periods that you can go and look at as recent as the last year or so, where the JSE has actually done better than some international equities. So it all depends, it very much depends. When the investment was made, how long the investment is done for, etc. Sometimes the timing of the investment does have a bit of an influence. So I really can't tell you which is the best. This is one of those cases where if somebody wants to invest and I say, listen, I don't know if I need to invest my money internationally or locally, but I want to be invested in equities, then I'll go, well, my personal opinion is, and so it's been my opinion for a number of years, is a good split of 70-30. Go 70% or 80% into international equities and 20 or 30% into local equities, and I think you'll do good. And the only reason why I would make a recommendation like that is because on our JSE we only have something like 350 companies. So you've got a very small basket of companies that you can invest in. Well, if you invest globally in something like the MSCI, or you've got thousands of companies on the Dow Jones, Nikkei, and all those places to invest in. So you just got a very much wider selection on the global funds. And let's be honest, if you go and look at global shares such as your Nvidias and your Microsofts and everything that's been doing so well, it has been outperforming any South African shares substantially over the last few years. So yeah, can't tell you which one is going to do better. Don't have that crystal ball, but I would definitely won't mind or I won't be what's the word, biased by saying, listen, you should just do one or the other. Okay, let's see here. Gracious says, I have Satrix, Coronation, Allan Gray, and Signia Balance Funds on Easy Equities RA. Is this okay? Gracious, I'm going to tell you basically the same that I said to somebody else now. I think it is okay because the 4 balance funds that you've chosen, it seems like it's all balance funds. The 4 balance funds that you've chosen, they are all the same type of funds, so they're all medium risk funds, and therefore they will overlap in terms of shares inside of the funds and so on. And therefore all of them should give you round about the same type of return. So the fact that you've got 3 or 4 of these portfolios means that you've just diversified your fund a little bit more. Diversified it more and having 2 or 3 fund managers instead of just one fund manager that you trust to do everything. So if the Satrix, for example, has a bad year this year, then hopefully the Coronation, Allan Gray and Signia has got better years and they pull your portfolio up a bit. And so these guys will do like that. I will not, like I said, I will not be invested in like 10 different balance funds. As a matter of fact, Satrix, Coronation, Allan Gray, Signia. 4 is about the top I will go. I think there where you are, I won't go any more than that. As a matter of fact, I would easily just go with 1 or 2 of them. But yes, I think you're okay. What I don't know, Gracious, is because you are in balance funds only, the question then is how old are you and how much risk can you take? Because your investments must be Regulation 28 compliant, but based on it all being balance funds, if you are young and you can take more risk, you should maybe have some of those funds into equity funds or global equity funds to have a bit more risk exposure and therefore pursue a bit higher growth, especially if you've got time. If you've got time normally sorts out risk. So a longer term investment, my personal opinion, should be invested a bit more aggressive. But I don't know how old you are, so I can't tell you. All I can say is the 4 balance funds, I think that's about max. Don't go any more, okay? Thank you, Graham. Ladies and gents, Mr. Graham G is an accountant. I have dealt with him many times in the past. He's actually one of my clients' accountant, and we have had many discussions about the client to make sure that we have the right calculations in terms of what the client can and cannot contribute to retirement annuities. So the 350,000 limit he's talking about here is then the contribution limit. And you know what, Graham, I actually forgot that 350,000 limit has been put up. So that means both the 27.5% limit has been increased to 430,000. The 350 has been increased to 430. And then the actual maturity value has been increased from 360 to 430. I must remember that. Too many details. Yeah. There we go. Thank you very much, Graham. Thank you for helping me out there, sir. Jen Rob says, good free lecturing. God bless you. Thank you, Genrob. I'm very happy when I see people get some value out of it. That's the intention at the end of the day, so I'm very happy to see that. Thank you, sir. Siabonga says, got 100,000 Rand and I'm clueless way to invest it. Is Momentum a safe place? So Siabonga, there's a number of companies. Momentum, yes. Old Mutual, Sanlam, Liberty, Discovery, Signia, Allan Gray, Coronation, Investec, all of these companies are safe to invest with because it is good, stable, strong companies. How safe your investment is more determined on the portfolio that you choose for that company. So you can invest your 100,000 with Momentum and make use of a Momentum investment, but you actually use a Liberty and a Old Mutual and a Sanlam portfolio, for example. So Momentum as the company is strong and there's nothing wrong with them. But if those portfolios from the other companies that you have chosen, if they don't perform or they grow negatively, then your investment will still be negative because the portfolios that you've invested in is not doing well. So the company that you're investing with is important because you don't want to invest with a company that can go under tomorrow. But the more important part is the underlying portfolio that you're going to invest in. That's the thing that is more important to determine whether your investment is going to be safe or not. Then also the next thing is one needs to determine what portfolio or risk category you must be invested in. Because sometimes people invest their money into a safe investment like a money market investment. They get 7 or 7.5% interest, and after tax, when tax is taken into consideration, they get even less. So the investment has not really done anything for them. So it's a safe investment, but my investment is doing so poorly in terms of returns that it's actually not worth having that type of investment. And it would be better, depending on how much time you have, what your situation is, etc., to be maybe invested in a balanced fund and get that 8 or 9%, or an equity fund and get 10 or 11%. So as long as you are clueless, as you say, you either need to go and do some investigation to figure out where you will fit in terms of your investment, or you must contact a financial advisor that you trust and let them do some planning with you, make some recommendations, explain to you in terms of their recommendations. If they say, listen here, we think you must use an endowment policy and you must use this portfolio, explain to you why they say that, what the risk is, etc., and then make your decision. Okay, Siabonga, I hope it's going to help there, mate. The low O. I'm too scared to take a sip of my cool drink because of TikTok that keeps on thinking that I'm drinking and I'm not allowed to drink. It's going to warn me now and block me and all kinds of things. How the hell this happens, I don't know. Gracious says I'm 42. Okay, Gracious, I don't think I've missed anything else. Or maybe you asked the question a long time ago and I can't remember. So I'm not sure what your age is all about. Unless, Gracious, you're the person that asked the question about the 4 balance funds, then I would say, Gracious, that because you're 42 years old and you're invested in RAs with all the balance funds, you've got at least 13 years until earliest retirement of 55. So I would see if I can restructure my portfolio a bit to get more into shares, more into equities, and get closer to that regulation 28 75% maximum share threshold as allowed by law. I would see if I can do that. So if I remember the right person with the right question, the balance funds are great. You're going to do good over the years, make no mistake about it. But personally, I would prefer to have a bit more risk exposure, especially if I'm 42 years old. Okay, so let's see. Charlene, Old Mutual acquired 10x investment. Does this make 10x a more credible investment company? Charlene, well, I think if we take into consideration that Old Mutual is one of the biggest companies in South Africa and definitely the oldest company in South Africa, there must be value in 10x that they see. So whether it will make them more credible, I don't know. What I can tell you is although they have acquired 10x investments, they have not changed the portfolios or portfolio managers or anything like that. So they must trust what those people are doing. So all in all, does it make them more credible? I don't know. What it does do is that they do have the backing of a very credible company now in the form of Old Mutual, which I think will make them more attractive as an investment company, especially for people who were not sure about them. So yes, I suppose in a roundabout way, it makes them more credible. Okay, great gracious, I'm glad that I got it right there. Wow, this cannot be true. Folks, I don't know, I am still paging here through everything, looking where I was, and the one moment there was 120 people joining and comments and everything, and suddenly I get to the bottom and there's no more questions. How can it be true? Corneille Smolberger, goeiedag. Yeah, seems like I have actually answered everything. That is okay. So hang on, getting stuck here. I wonder if I can take a chance and take a sip. Suppose I have to get outside of the camera view if I want to do that. Okay. Vakula says, I suppose I'm going to have to answer this slow to stretch us to 7 o'clock. Vakula says, I have 360, I assume it's 360,000 Rand, from a matured endowment with Old Mutual, would like to reinvest it in a global advice, please. Vakula, you weren't here earlier, obviously. So that 360,000, first of all, don't let it pay out, okay? It's come to maturity age, or it's come to maturity date. But Old Mutual will only pay out the funds once you submit to them the necessary maturity documentation. Don't do that. Just leave it where it is. What you can do now is, depending on the type of investment that it is with them, okay, you can basically inform them that you want to change the portfolio that you invested in into a global portfolio, because remember they've got a number of global portfolios. So you can literally say to them, listen here, I don't want this money. I'm happy that it's mature, because it's matured now. It's always available to withdraw whenever you want after tax money. If you take it out and you reinvest it, you're back into what they call a 5-year restriction period, which means you can't touch it for 5 years. Or you can make 2 withdrawals in 5 years, but you don't have access to it all the time. Where it is now, you've got access to it all the time. That's how you want it to be. Also, you don't want it to pay out and then reinvest it, because then you pay new fees, new costs, new everything. You don't want to do that. So just leave it there. And inform Old Mutual, tell them, listen here, I want to change the portfolio that I'm invested in into the global balance or the global equity or whatever global portfolio of your choice there is with them. Okay? If the investment that you have does not give that option of that global portfolio, they can help you to move that investment into one of the newer generation plans that they have, where those global portfolios is available. So if they move it, because it is a matured investment and it moves as a matured investment into one of the new product ranges, and you use one of those portfolios, it stays matured, but it's now open-ended, which means I can withdraw from it whenever I want. Every day of my life, I could go and say, give me 5 Rand, give me 10 Rand, whatever the case might be. And that's what you want from an endowment. You want it to get to that point where it's open-ended and you can use it as and when you please. So Bakula, I hope that answers it and helps you. Charlene says, at what age do you need to stop being aggressive with investments? Charlene, there is no specific age when you should or should not. When you stop being aggressive with your investments is going to depend from person to person. When you feel that you want to become more conservative, if there's a need to become more conservative, it's really going to depend from person to person and their personal circumstances. I have clients who are 60 years old and they've moved most of their funds into balanced and stable funds because they just don't like the idea of risk. And then I've got clients that are in their late 70s and 80s and they still invested in high risk equity portfolios and global portfolios. So it's literally going to depend from person to person. There is no hard and fast rule to say because you've reached this age, it's now time to move you. I know that there's a number of strategies used by portfolio managers, especially on pension funds, where they say, okay, when you get to this age, we go to balanced funds. When you get to that age, we go to money market funds, and they move you more and more conservative. But that's based on a strategy that's used by the investment company, purely from, listen here, it's easier to manage like this because we've got 1,000 people on the pension fund than what it would be if we have to sit with every person and do an analysis for every person as they get older. Sujay says, which balance fund manager is best? Refine this about Alan Gray, Fairtree or Satrix. Same for equity funds. So Sujay, I can't really tell you which fund manager is best. Because you see, if Alan Gray was the best fund manager, then their balanced and equity funds would every year be doing the best from everybody. But they're not. Some years they're best, some years they are third, some years they're fifth, some years they're 10th. So you can't really say that they are the best based on something like that. Take it a little bit further. 1 year it will be Satrix, 1 year it will be Alan Gray, 1 year it will be Sanlam, 1 year it will be Fairtree, 1 year it will be... You can't say. When it comes to funds and how they perform, I think what is very important, what very few people look at, is the philosophy, the investment philosophy of the different investment houses. So some investment houses will say our philosophy is that we just buy quality shares that we know is going to give good growth and dividends over a long period of time, and we hold it. They buy and they hold. Others will say, no, we're going to have more in cash, and what we are going to do is we're going to look for bargains, we're going to buy bargains, chase it up for as long as it grows, and then sell it again. So we're going to do a lot more active management, and we are going to try and time the market. So I think the best fund manager to me would be the fund manager whose philosophy on how they manage my funds is in line with what I think is the right way to do it, or what I believe is the right way to do it. So go and have a look, if you really want to go into that, at what the philosophy is of the different investment houses. One thing you can also do is you can go and you can get stats that says which was the best balanced fund over a 10-year period in 2015, and then which was the best one in 2016. And you will see that it keeps on changing. It's never the same company. Sometimes the same company might have a good shot and be the best for 3 out of 6 years, but it's going to change all the time. So it's once again, over and above the explanation I've given you now, it's once again a question of I don't have that crystal ball. Robin says, when does this stop? Robin, it never stops. Okay, folks, we've come to 7 o'clock. I'm going to quickly answer the last question that I see here, and then I'm going to say goodbye. I have 12 million invested in the Absa savings account. Should I rather invest? Oh, Sky. If you've got 12 million invested in the Absa savings account, should I rather invest with Old Mutual? It shouldn't even be a question. You should have been invested with Old Mutual or another insurer or investment house a long time ago. Sky, with all due respect, contact me. My number is in my profile. Contact me, set up an appointment, let's do some proper planning. You are absolutely 100% shooting yourself in the foot. You're not getting the growth that you should be getting, and you're paying tax through your ears. So Sky, it's not even a question. You should have been out of there a long time ago. Contact me, okay? Vakula, thank you. Goodbye says, good evening, sir. There we go. I want to invest for monthly interest. Pay me. V says you want to invest for interest. Once again, I'm going to tell you the same as Sky. Contact me on my WhatsApp number in the profile, and we'll set up an appointment and we'll help you. Doe says, what's your take on BlackRock and Riskura? I cannot tell you because I don't deal with them. I don't know if they're even good or not, so I'm not going to answer you on that one. And then Robin says, thank you. I have an emergency fund against stop it. Okay, great. Folks, thank you very, very much for spending the evening with me. There's been great questions. I think we have had a good evening. Now I'm going to have something to eat and I am going to duck. I want to go to bed. I need some serious R&R. Keep well. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you guys again next week, Thursday. And if you need help, contact me. Promise you, I answer everybody that contacts me on that WhatsApp. All the best. Keep well. Bye-bye.